Dr. Mayachin never thought she would end up working in a place like this. The memory archive on Station New Hope was nothing like the research labs she was used to. Here, instead of studying alien cultures from books and videos, she worked directly with living beings who carried their entire history in their bodies. Maya sat in her small office, watching Kaylin through the glass wall. The Zephyrian woman was tending to what looked like a garden, but Maya knew it was much more than that. Each plant in Kaylin's care held memories from her people. Real memories that could be touched, felt, and experienced by anyone who knew how to connect with them. The plants glowed softly with different colors. Blue ones held happy memories, red ones kept sad experiences, and golden plants stored the most important moments in Zephyrian history. Kaylin moved between them like a dancer, her pointed ears twitching as she listened to whispers that only she could hear. Maya had been studying Zephyrian culture for 3 years, but she still felt like an outsider looking in. The Zephyrians were so different from humans. They could share thoughts and feelings just by touching each other. They could store memories in living things and pass down knowledge through generations without ever writing a single word. Dr. Chen? Kaylin's voice came through the speaker system. Even through the machine, her words sounded like music. Would you like to see something special today? Maya stood up and walked into the garden room. The air smelled like flowers and something else she couldn't name. Maybe it was the scent of memories themselves. What did you want to show me? Kaylin smiled, and Maya noticed how her ears moved forward when she was excited. A new memory plant grew overnight. This has never happened before. Usually, memory plants take weeks to develop, but this one appeared in just a few hours. Maya followed Kaylin to a corner of the garden where a small silver plant sat in a crystal pot. The plant seemed to pulse with its own inner light, and Maya felt drawn to it in a way she couldn't explain. What kind of memories does it hold? Maya asked. I don't know, Kaylin admitted. That's what makes it so strange. Every memory plant I've ever seen carries familiar experiences, things that happened to my people. But when I try to read this one, I sense something different. Something that feels human. Maya stepped closer to the plant. Human? How is that possible? I was hoping you could help me figure that out, Kaylin said. Memory plants should only respond to Zephyrian consciousness, but this one seems to be calling to you. Maya looked at the plant more carefully. It was beautiful in a way that made her chest feel tight. The silver leaves seemed to shift and move even though there was no wind in the room. What would happen if I touched it? Kaylin's ears flattened against her head, a sign Maya had learned meant worry. I don't know. No human has ever tried to connect with a memory plant before. It could be dangerous. But Maya was already reaching out. Something about the plant felt familiar, like looking at a photo of a place she'd visited in a dream. Her finger brushed against one of the silver leaves. The world exploded into light and sound and feeling. Maya found herself standing in a place that wasn't the garden room. She was in a vast space filled with floating islands, each one covered in different kinds of plants. But these weren't normal plants, they were made of pure thought and emotion, growing in soil that sparkled like stardust. Welcome, said a voice behind her. Maya turned and saw Kaylin, but this wasn't the same Kaylin from the garden room. This version glowed with soft light, and her eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire universes. Where are we? Maya asked. We're inside the memory plant, Kaylin explained. But this isn't just any memory. This is a bridge memory, a connection between your mind and mine that the plant created when you touched it. Maya looked around at the floating islands. I don't understand. How can there be a memory of something that just happened? Time works differently here, Kaylin said. The plant didn't just store what happened when you touched it. It stored what could happen between us, all the possible futures where humans and Zephyrians learn to share memories and thoughts. As Kaylin spoke, Maya began to see images flowing through the air around them. She saw herself and Kaylin working together, sharing knowledge that neither of their species had possessed alone. She saw humans learning to grow memory plants, and Zephyrians discovering new ways to preserve their culture. She saw a future where the two species became something greater together than they had been apart. "This is incredible," Maya whispered. "But why is this happening to us?" "I think," Kaylin said slowly, "we were meant to find each other. My people have legends about bridge keepers, individuals who could connect different species through shared consciousness. The legends say that when the time was right, the bridge keepers would appear to guide our people into a new age of cooperation." Maya felt a warm sensation spreading through her body. "Are you saying we're these bridge keepers?" "I'm saying the memory plant seems to think so," Kaylin replied. "Look." Maya followed Kaylin's gaze to see that new islands were forming around them. Each one showed different scenes of humans and Zephyrians working together. In some, they were exploring distant planets. In others, they were solving problems that neither species could handle alone. In all of them, Maya and Kaylin stood at the center, helping others form the same kind of connection they had discovered. "We need to get back," Maya said suddenly. "If this is real, if we really can help our people work together, then we need to start now." Kaylin nodded, and the memory space began to fade around them. Maya found herself back in the garden room, her hand still touching the silver plant. But something had changed. She could feel Kaylin's thoughts at the edge of her mind, not intrusive, but present like a warm friend sitting nearby. "Did that really happen?" Maya asked. "I think so," Kaylin replied. "And I think it's just the beginning." Before Maya could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and a voice came over the speaker system: "All personnel report to emergency stations. Unknown ships approaching." Maya and Kaylin looked at each other, and through their new connection, they both understood the same thing. This wasn't a coincidence. Something had detected the formation of their bridge connection, and it was coming to investigate. "We need to protect the memory garden," Kaylin said urgently. "If these plants are destroyed, centuries of Zephyrian history will be lost forever." Maya nodded, feeling Kaylin's knowledge flowing into her mind. She suddenly understood how the memory plants worked, how they could be moved and protected, and most importantly, how they could be used to help defend the station. "Kaylin," Maya said, "what if we could get the memory plants to share their knowledge with the station's defense systems? If the computers could access Zephyrian tactical memories, we might be able to fight off the attackers." Kaylin's ears perked up with excitement. "That's brilliant, but it would require both human technology and Zephyrian memory techniques working together. No one has ever tried anything like that before. No one has ever had a bridge connection like ours before either," Maya pointed out. They ran to the station's control center, carrying several of the most important memory plants with them. The control room was chaos, with security officers trying to operate defense systems they didn't fully understand and scientists attempting to analyze the approaching threat. "Commander Torres," Maya called to the station's leader. "We have an idea that might help." Commander Torres looked up from a display showing dozens of hostile ships approaching the station. "Dr. Chen, unless you've figured out how to make our weapons work better, I don't have time for theories." "Not theories," Maya said firmly. "Solutions." She set down the memory plants on the main control console. These plants contain centuries of Zephyrian military knowledge. If we can connect them to your computer systems, we might be able to access defensive strategies that no human has ever seen. That's impossible, Torres said. Our computers don't work with alien biotechnology. They do if you have the right interface, Kaylin said, placing her hands on the memory plants. Maya, put your hands on the computer controls. Our bridge connection should let us translate between the two systems. Maya placed her palms on the main keyboard. The moment she made contact, she felt Kaylin's consciousness flowing through her and into the computer systems. At the same time, the memory plants began to glow brighter, sharing their stored knowledge through the bridge connection. Suddenly, the station's defense systems came alive with new possibilities. Maya could see tactical options appearing on the screens that hadn't been there before. Weapon configurations that combined human engineering with Zephyrian energy manipulation. Shield patterns that used both species' understanding of physics to create barriers stronger than either could achieve alone. Torres, Maya said, her voice carrying new authority. Trust us. We can protect the station, but you need to let us guide the defense systems. Torres looked at the approaching enemy fleet, then at Maya and Kaylin, who were now glowing softly as their bridge connection channeled knowledge between three different types of consciousness: human, Zephyrian, and artificial. Do it, he said. The battle that followed was unlike anything in recorded history. The attacking fleet had expected to face either human or Zephyrian defenses, but they found themselves confronting something entirely new. Weapons that adapted their firing patterns based on ancient Zephyrian combat wisdom. Shields that reconfigured themselves using human problem-solving techniques enhanced by alien memory. Maya and Kaylin worked together so smoothly that observers couldn't tell where one person's actions ended and the other's began. They moved the station through space using flight patterns stored in memory plants from 1,000 years ago, while simultaneously calculating trajectory solutions with human mathematical precision. The enemy ships, confused and outmatched by tactics they had never encountered, began to retreat. Within an hour, the threat was gone, and the station was safe. As the all-clear signal sounded, Maya and Kaylin collapsed into chairs, exhausted but triumphant. Around them, the memory plants continued to glow softly, their knowledge now permanently integrated with the station's computer systems. What just happened? Commander Torres asked, staring at readings that showed the station's capabilities had somehow doubled during the battle. Evolution, Maya said simply. We just proved that consciousness can grow beyond the boundaries of any single species. Over the following weeks, news of the bridge connection spread throughout human and Zephyrian space. Scientists from both species came to study Maya and Kaylin, trying to understand how they had achieved something that had been thought impossible. Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's chief medical officer, ran daily tests on both women. Your brain patterns are completely synchronized, she told them during one examination. It's as if you share a single consciousness that happens to live in two bodies. Is that dangerous? Maya asked. I don't know, Dr. Kim admitted. You're the first bridge-connected pair in known history. But your physical and mental health seem to be improving rather than declining. If anything, the connection appears to be making you both stronger. Maya nodded, feeling the truth of that statement through her link with Kaylin. She could access memories and knowledge that belonged to the Zephyrian woman, but she hadn't lost her own identity. Instead, she felt like she had become a larger version of herself. Dr. Kim, Kaylin said, we've been discussing the possibility of training others to form bridge connections. If Maya and I can teach other humans and Zephyrians to create these links, we could revolutionize how our species work together. Dr. Kim looked excited by the possibility. That could change everything about interspecies cooperation. But we'd need to be very careful. The wrong kind of connection could be harmful or even deadly. We know, Maya said. That's why we want to start with volunteers who are already working closely together. Scientists, diplomats, people who have spent years learning to understand other species. The first group of volunteers arrived a month later. 10 humans and 10 Zephyrians, all individuals who had dedicated their lives to building bridges between their peoples. Maya and Kaylin worked with them in the memory garden, teaching them how to open their minds to connection while maintaining their individual identities. The process wasn't easy. Several volunteers couldn't form connections at all, and others found the experience too overwhelming to continue. But 5 pairs, 10 individuals total, successfully created stable bridge links. Each new bridge pair brought their own unique abilities to the group. Dr. James Wright, a human linguist, connected with Venari, a Zephyrian poet, creating a bridge that allowed them to translate not just words but entire concepts between languages. Engineer Lisa Park bonded with Zethrin, a Zephyrian inventor, and together they designed technologies that neither species could have imagined alone. As the bridge network grew, Maya began to understand that they were creating something much larger than individual connections. Each new bridge added to a growing web of shared consciousness that spanned both species. "We're becoming something new," she told Kaylin one evening as they walked through the memory garden together. The plants around them glowed more brightly than ever, fed by the expanded network of bridge connections. "Not becoming," Kaylin corrected gently. "We're becoming what we were always meant to be." My people's oldest memories speak of a time when consciousness flowed freely between all thinking beings. Perhaps we're not creating something new, but remembering something very old. Maya smiled, feeling the warmth of their connection and the broader network that now linked dozens of minds across 2 species. "Either way, it's beautiful." Their peaceful moment was interrupted by urgent chiming from Maya's communication device. Commander Torres appeared on the small screen, looking worried. "Maya, Kaylin, we have a situation. A delegation from the Zephyrian High Council is approaching the station, and they're demanding to speak with you immediately. According to our diplomatic contacts, they're not happy about the bridge network you've been building." Maya and Kaylin exchanged glances, sharing concern through their connection. "What kind of not happy?" Maya asked. "The kind that involves bringing warships," Torres replied grimly. "They'll be here in 6 hours." As the communication ended, Maya felt fear ripple through the bridge network. All the connected pairs could sense that something threatening was approaching, even those who hadn't been told about the High Council ships. "We need to call a meeting," Kaylin said. "Everyone in the network should know what we're facing." They gathered in the main conference room an hour later. The bridge pairs sat together, their connections creating a web of shared awareness that filled the room with an almost tangible sense of unity. Maya looked around at the faces of people who had become family through their mental links. "The Zephyrian High Council is coming," she began. "They view our bridge network as a threat to traditional Zephyrian culture." Venari, the Zephyrian poet, spoke up. "The Council fears that bridge connections will weaken our people's connection to our ancestors. They believe that sharing consciousness with humans will dilute Zephyrian spiritual purity." "But that's not what's happening," protested Dr. Wright, Venari's bridge partner. "Through our connection, I've gained access to Zephyrian ancestral memories that go back thousands of years. If anything, the bridges are preserving your culture, not destroying it." "The Council doesn't see it that way," Kaylin said sadly. "To them, bridge connections represent contamination of something sacred. They would rather preserve our culture in isolation than risk changing it through contact with other species." Maya stood up, feeling the determination of the entire network flowing through her. "Then we need to show them they're wrong. When the Council arrives, we'll demonstrate that bridge connections don't destroy Zephyrian culture, they fulfill it. Over the next few hours, the bridge pairs worked together to prepare for the Council's arrival. They gathered the most important memory plants and arranged them in patterns that told the story of Zephyrian history. They prepared demonstrations showing how bridge connections had enhanced rather than diminished their abilities. Most importantly, they practiced sharing their experiences in ways that would help the Council understand what they had achieved. When the Zephyrian ships arrived, they brought not just the High Council, but also representatives from several other alien species who had heard about the bridge network. The station's main assembly hall was packed with beings from across the galaxy, all wanting to witness this unprecedented meeting. High Counselor Thalen, the leader of the Zephyrian delegation, was an imposing figure whose age showed in the intricate patterns of scars on his arms, traditional marks that recorded important life events. His ears remained rigidly upright as he surveyed the assembled crowd. Members of the bridge network, he began, his voice carrying the formal tones of ancient authority, you stand accused of violating the sacred laws that govern Zephyrian consciousness. By sharing your minds with alien beings, you have contaminated the pure connection that links our people to our ancestors. Maya stepped forward, feeling the support of the entire network flowing through her. Honored Counselor, we respectfully disagree. Through our bridge connections, we have discovered that consciousness has no species boundaries. The ancestors you speak of left records showing they once shared their minds with many different kinds of beings. Impossible, Thalen declared. Our records show that Zephyrians have always maintained mental purity. Your current records show that, Kalen said, moving to stand beside Maya. But the memory plants contain older knowledge that has been forgotten. She gestured to the ancient plants arranged around the hall. These memories predate the current High Council by millennia. They remember a time when Zephyrians were bridge builders, not bridge breakers. To demonstrate their point, Maya and Kalen approached the oldest memory plant in the collection. Together, they placed their hands on its ancient leaves, sharing their bridge connection with the plant's stored knowledge. The hall filled with soft golden light as the plant responded to their touch. Suddenly, everyone present could see the visions flowing from the memory images of ancient Zephyrians working alongside dozens of different species, their minds linked in networks that spanned entire star systems. This is fakery, Thalen protested, but his ears had shifted to positions that Maya now recognized as uncertainty mixed with awe. This is truth, said a new voice from the back of the hall. Everyone turned to see an elderly Zephyrian woman making her way through the crowd. She moved slowly, leaning on a walking stick, but her eyes held the depth of someone who had lived through centuries of history. Elder Casus, Thalen said, his voice showing surprise and respect. We were not aware you had come to the station. I came because I felt the bridge connections awakening, Elder Casus replied. I am old enough to remember the stories my grandmother told me, stories about the time before the Great Isolation, when our people freely shared consciousness with all thinking beings. She approached the memory plant that Maya and Kalen still touched, adding her own weathered hand to theirs. The golden light grew brighter, and new images appeared in the air above them. See, Elder Casus said, her voice carrying the weight of ancient wisdom. These memories show the truth the High Council has forgotten. We became isolated not by choice, but by necessity, during the time of the Mind Wars when hostile species tried to use bridge connections to control other civilizations. But those threats ended long ago. The bridge connections were meant to be temporary protection, not permanent isolation. The assembled crowd watched in silence as the memory visions showed the complete history of Zephyrian bridge building. They saw how the connections had once allowed peaceful cooperation between dozens of species. They witnessed the attacks that forced the Zephyrians into mental isolation. And they observed how the protective barriers had gradually hardened into cultural traditions that forgot their original purpose. The children of the bridges have returned, Elder Cases continued, looking at Maya and Kaylin with something that might have been relief. The memories have been waiting for individuals who could safely reopen the connections our ancestors were forced to close. High Counselor Thalen stood silent for a long moment, processing everything he had witnessed. Finally, he spoke. If what you show is true, then the bridge network is not contamination, but restoration. More than restoration, Maya said, feeling the excitement of the entire network flowing through her. These connections allow us to solve problems that no single species could handle alone. They let us share knowledge and perspectives in ways that make all of us stronger. To demonstrate, the bridge pairs began working together on a problem that had been puzzling Zephyrian scientists for years: how to grow memory plants that could survive in different atmospheric conditions. By combining human botanical knowledge with Zephyrian memory techniques, they developed a solution in minutes that would have taken months of traditional research. Remarkable, admitted Thalen. But what guarantees do we have that these connections won't be misused as they were in ancient times? The connections themselves provide the guarantee, Kaylin explained. Bridge links only work between individuals who genuinely respect and care for each other. They can't be forced or faked. The hostile species in ancient times tried to create artificial connections, but real bridges require trust and mutual understanding. Elder Casis nodded approvingly. The children speak wisdom. True bridge connections cannot exist where there is hatred or desire for control. As the demonstration continued, representatives from other species began asking questions about forming their own bridge networks. Maya realized they were witnessing the beginning of something much larger than human Zephyrian cooperation. What you're suggesting, said Ambassador Crix, a representative from the silicon-based Nexari people, is a fundamental change in how consciousness operates in the galaxy. Instead of separate species struggling to communicate across biological and cultural barriers, we could develop shared understanding at the level of thought itself. That's exactly what we're suggesting, Maya replied. But it has to be voluntary. No one can be forced into a bridge connection. It only works when all participants choose it freely. Over the following hours, the assembly transformed from a formal hearing into an excited planning session. Representatives from 12 different species expressed interest in establishing bridge programs with their own people. Scientists proposed research projects that could benefit from cross-species consciousness sharing. Diplomats began drafting agreements for the first intergalactic bridge network. By the end of the meeting, High Counselor Thalen had not only withdrawn his objections to the bridge network, but had volunteered to undergo bridge training himself. If this is truly the restoration of ancient Zephyrian capabilities, he declared, then the High Council should lead by example in embracing these connections. As the various delegations prepared to return to their homeworlds, Maya and Kaylin found themselves standing once again in the memory garden. But now it looked different. New plants had grown during the assembly, plants that glowed with colors neither of them had seen before, representing the memories and experiences of all the species that had witnessed the bridge demonstrations. We did it, Maya said softly, watching the multicolored lights dance among the plants. We really did it. We started it, Kaylin corrected. This is just the beginning. In a few years, there could be bridge networks spanning the entire galaxy. Maya smiled, feeling the warm presence of their connection and the broader network that now linked hundreds of minds across dozens of species. Through their bridge, she could sense the excitement and hope of beings she had never met, all connected by the shared dream of true understanding between different forms of consciousness. You know what I think? Maya said, taking Kaylin's hand as they walk. I think this is what consciousness was always meant to become. Not isolated minds struggling to communicate across impossible barriers, but a network of awareness that includes everyone who wants to be part of it. Kaylin squeezed her hand, and through their connection, Maya felt complete agreement mixed with joy and anticipation for all the discoveries that lay ahead. Ed among the glowing plants. What? The memory garden around them pulsed with gentle light, its plants swaying in a breeze that carried the whispered hopes of a galaxy learning to think together. And at the center of it all, two minds that had found each other by accident and chosen to stay connected by design, proving that consciousness itself could evolve beyond any boundary that seemed permanent. As they walked deeper into the garden, new memory plants began to sprout around their feet, already growing the experiences that would someday help the next generation of bridge builders understand how to connect minds across the stars.